I'm Ariana Siarkiewicz, and I'm a writer at Rebel Wolves.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Now, I want to start with a kind of complicated question. I hope you get it. If not, please feel free to ask back. So I want to talk about the time system because it's one of the topics that is very much discussed online. Was the idea of having a time system driven by a narrative goal, like to create a sense of urgency despite having a big open world structure, or did the time limit mechanic come first with the story being built around it? You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean, and it was definitely for the narrative. It was the first idea was that we want to have a sense of urgency that we've been missing in some other games. We want the world to feel like it doesn't wait for you, and then we build everything around it. The way we've built quests and the way we've built gameplay came after that. We also had many various iterations of the time system rolling around in discussions until we've arrived at this particular one that's, we believe, struck the right balance between creating this narrative pressure but also allowing for a rather relaxed gameplay for everyone.
So adding to the question before, I was also wondering, there are so many different approaches to the whole vampire thing. Like you've got everything from Twilight to like the Nosferatu from 2 years ago. So why did you choose this special setting in time and this special setting in place for the whole game mood?
Well, when it comes to Europe and vampires, like, it's difficult not to think about Romania, which is the region in the Carpathian Mountains, and the times of the Black Plague are just ripe for horror. And since we wanted to make a dark fantasy game, of course we couldn't have sparkly vampires. We wanted to go back into more of the Nosferatu roots, where the vampires are kind of creepy and scary. And even though you can talk to them and you can play as one sort of, which is more human than some purely monstrous vampires, we did want to steer back to the times when it was more of a horror genre. Even though the game, of course, isn't horror, is not going to spook you over much, outside of some little elements like you've seen in Prologue, I'm sure. But yeah, that was the vibe, and so this kind of vampire version fit best.
I would ask also about the time element. What would you say to the numerous people writing under YouTube videos and articles saying they won't see everything of the game and they don't like the fact that they have to decide what they want to do because they can't do everything?
I think that, first of all, when you're playing a role-playing game which has branches in quests, branches in dialogues, you will never see the entire game unless you save and reload, which you can also do in the Blood of Dawnwalker, of course. And the second of all is that we hope, and obviously only time will tell, that the immersion you get for the existence of this system, that you feel you are in the story, that the world is actively moving with you, that it will make up for the feeling of FOMO that many completionist players get, which I understand because I'm one of them. So it's a difficult pill to swallow in a way, but for me personally, when I realized how much content I have missed, for instance, in Baldur's Gate 3, despite being very diligent and reloading endlessly for every dialogue, I wouldn't play the game with all the companions with me, for instance. So I lost plenty of content, and if I wanted to do it, I would have to play the game again. And I don't think it's that different in that way. So, and it was a great game, Baldur's Gate, so, you know.
The studio has described the game as a narrative sandbox, and I would like to know, like, how would you explain this philosophy behind that design approach, and is it comparable to any other games that came out in the past? Like, what would you compare it most to?
I haven't myself played any. I mean, in a way I have, because the way the game is supposed to work is that you don't have any kind of main quest that you have to follow. So you play the game on your own terms, you create your own stories, you choose the quests you want to to complete, which ones you are not interested in, and you go another way, or you can go for any percent and you just ignore everything and go straight to the end. But for me, actually, the comparison that might not make sense to everyone would be the first time I played Oblivion, where the main quest basically didn't exist for me. I wasn't interested. And I had an amazing time. I've played the game for 2 or 3 months daily because I was a kid, so I had a lot of time. I had a blast. I will always remember this game fondly. I have never finished it, and I've done so much in that world. And I think that, well, we do have the final goal, so it's a bit different. In a way, it might be an experience a little bit similar to that in just I made my own, gameplay in Oblivion back then, and you can do the same in Dawnwalker, with the exception that here it's actually intended, and it does have an endpoint. So.
Thank you so much.
So I want to know, not going into spoiler territory, but conceptually, are there different endings depending on how many days you have left or which quests you choose?
We have many endings. Some of them are obviously more different than others. There are a bunch of hidden endings that you can get if you do things like you would think that the game doesn't expect you, that the story doesn't expect you to do, but you can still find them. And when it comes to the endings, we have, I don't want to spoil too much, but there is a specific thing that will account for many of your choices, and it is not like a gameplay mechanic, but story-wise, the way you can feel about your story that you have told by playing the game, I think it should be very rewarding at the end.
Regarding the behavior of all the characters in the game, they all have the impression of being very weary, very timid, very sad. And is it intentional? So is it that because of the whole circumstances of the characters in the game that they just don't want to be emotional anymore or can't be emotional anymore, or was it just the influence of the voice actors that gave them the certain mood, which is always like a bit broody and very?
I haven't heard the German voiceovers.
No, I'm not playing German, I'm playing English.
Oh, you're playing English. So I would say in that case, it might change after you leave the initial village, because we have many different characters with many different, emotional approaches, and definitely not all of them are gloomy. But when you look at the peasants in that time, they have just been ravaged by the Black Death, and now they are they came from under a terrible kniaz that was, ruining their lives, into vampires that are drinking their blood. I don't know if I would be the most giddy person ever, but I can guarantee you that you will meet different characters with different attitudes later in the game.
I wanted to ask about Cohen, as he is a already existing character with a background story, and he's probably a John Doe in this village. How much of his personality in the end will be decided through players' actions? Like, can we change his behavior to the end of the game? Like, can he be more aggressive, or will he stay more human, or is this about the decisions the player takes?
The way we designed Cohen is that since he is an existing character, like you said, we didn't want to allow the players full freedom. He cannot suddenly become a giddy joker or a murderous psychopath, just rude to everyone and tells them the worst things. But given what he undergoes once he turns into a Vrakir and he doesn't really know how to handle his nature, the players will have the ability to roleplay him as many very different characters. He will never be a complete, like I said, douche in the conversations, but he may lose control. He may be eating people. It may or may not be the player's choice to, click the option. We wanted to make this a role-playing game. So you decide who Cohen is, for instance, what his approach to his family ultimately is, what his approach to Brents is, to his change, the way he changes to the world. All of that we want to give you the ability to shape. But we didn't implement any system that will lock you out of choices because you say 20 people, so now you cannot talk to them nicely or something. No. If you want to play a redemption story, imagine a redemption arc, that's your prerogative, and we want the players to be able to feel the way that they're Cohen. So we wanted to give them the tools, not the limitations, outside of the basics of who he is.
A question about the writing process, because many quests in the Blood of Dawnwalker have multiple solutions and outcomes, and I'm interested in the process of writing these quests. Like, where do you even begin? Like, do you start at the ending or at the endings and work your way kind of backwards, figuring out all the different paths that can lead there, or do you begin with a premise for a quest and then let the branching possibilities emerge naturally during the development and writing of the quest?
Definitely closer to the latter. We begin with a concept for the quest, usually some kind of beginning, some kind of ending, what the quest is about. And then we begin to iterate it, adding more details, exploring various possibilities. And we always work in teams with a writer and a quest designer. And we iterate a lot with the leadership. So it's basically a kind of a circular process where it just keeps going, to us, to them, review, then more, and until we finally have the shape that satisfies everyone. And I think that's the only logical way for us to work through it, because if you let the writers do what they want, then the quest designers would see it and they would just lose all of their hair. And it's a teamwork and an iterative process, I would say, like, in short.
Thanks.
So did the Cohen character exist from the beginning, or was there ever a point where maybe you thought about having like a character creator and mute character, or did you always plan it like that?
Ever since I came here, Cohen was already a character, and as far as I can tell, it's been that for the longest time. The times where they considered any kind of, more customization, character editor, it was just a very beginning of the process when they were talking about what kind of game do we want to make. Once that was decided at the very start, it was like, no, it's going to be Cohen.
And do the characters in the game reflect some actor, some real life person, some historical person that you say, okay, I want to put all the emotions, all the character flaws of this person into that character, also the good things? And is it more fun to write the bad characters or the good characters?
We don't have any exact copies of real characters. Some maybe, but it would be more mentioned in other stories, actual characters, people who lived in that time, but we don't have them actually in the game. And when it comes to writing good characters versus bad characters, well, bad characters are always more fun to write. It's a different kind of writing experience. It's just a joy.
How it is decided in the quest writing and story writing if a player is rewarded and or punished, depending on his choices, immediately or after some time, for example, making an ally in a quest. When in the process do you decide if it's better to give it right now or do it later?
I would say that's on quest basis. Once we see what the narrative of the quest tells, then we can see what the rewards for it should be. When it's rewards that are narrative, for instance, a new ally, then we would go into the quest knowing, because it's an ally, so there's that. But there were some rewards, actually narrative, in one quest, I'm not going to spoil it, that actually we didn't know what they would be for a long time, and then suddenly someone was like, oh, what if it was that? And it goes great with game mechanics, so then we implement it. But, there is no rule for that, and just changes depending.
So the vampire regime in the game isn't portrayed as purely good or evil. I mean, they're evil, but the guys before them were also evil. So,
that's medieval times for you,
yeah.
Or the humanity for you, whatever you want.
Right? So living on the vampire rule also has some benefits, not only drawbacks. So I have to ask, like, are you pro-vampire or anti-vampire, and what's the consensus inside the studio?
There is no consensus, in the studio, but as someone who is, I wouldn't say I'm a germaphobe, but I am definitely afraid of diseases, so I would be team vampires. Like, get that plague away from me, I don't care, take the blood, I don't care, man, just no buboes for me, thank you. So yeah, for the studio there is no consensus, and I think that's the best thing about it, because if there wasn't clear option, clear choice, then we would have failed at the goals we set out to do, which was like, let's let it. We had a time when the vampires were winning so much, we actually had to make them a little bit scarier. Yeah. Because everyone's like, of course the vampires, why would I want puny humans? Yeah. So hopefully no answer to that.
I was a little bit surprised now, first playing, that there are also other, fantastical creatures. I was thinking, but when it comes to the world building, how much is pure fantasy, how much is folklore, and how much is like historical research to create the world?
When it comes to the creatures, it's usually they usually have roots in folklore, and that kind of also applies to the vampires and the Uriashi as well. They are actually from the folklore of Urias. They are mountain giants, and they've been later turned into the goat people that we have in the game. When it comes to the real world, we do have some historical tie-ins. The most obvious one is, of course, the Black Plague, but there are like writings or histories of some of the characters that are tied to real world events, real world people. Very much depends. And we also have a lot of like folklore that is based on folklore, but this one isn't legit anymore because it's ours. So it's a big old jumble of ideas and mixed concepts, but we don't have a lot of things made up from the air. It usually can be traced to something, and that was the idea that we wanted to go with.
Characteristic of the game is the change between day and night cycle. So how much did the daytime in writing influence you? Like, did you write the daytime episodes and the daytime features during the day, during a bright sunny day, and the nightly gruesome features in the night when it's gloomy outside and it's winter and it's cold and freezing?
I got assigned to basically all the vampire stories, so I would have to work at nights only if that was the case. I cannot speak for our feature designers, our gameplay and combat teams. I don't think they had that much of a choice. We mostly have office hours, which are during the day. So if they wanted to immerse themselves in the vampiric, they had to pull down the blinds, and I guess that's it.
Were there some systems or mechanics that were like 80% done and then dropped again in the whole development process?
There was one, and it was causing some complications, and we ultimately decided it just wasn't worth it, because I don't mean complications technically, but more like it was making quest design less intuitive, less fun for the players, potentially adding unnecessary branching that wouldn't actually be satisfying, so that mechanic was cut. But we did not have a lot of that. Mostly things were just adjusted, balanced, changed outside of the prototypes, of course, because we had like combat prototypes galore and all of that, but that's I'm not counting that.
So because there will be a lot of content that can be missed, is there a quest line, a region, character or race that players should absolutely check out, even though it's maybe easy to overlook?
It's a difficult question to ask a writer who's trying not to just recommend all of their quests. I don't think we have things that are that easy to miss. We always tried to kind of hook them into obvious places, so
you
that
can decide if that's
yes.
interesting to you.
Okay. of course, there are many places where you can just go explore and find the things, but it's not possible for me to even remember where they would be or what they would be. But yeah, we did pay attention to at least signal to the players that, hey, there is some interesting content here, check it out. So without any writer bias, I would say that you should be able to find all the best things.
Great.
Since some people might want to replay the game multiple times to see the different outcomes or the different content, how long would you say is one average playthrough with like 30 days?
I believe about 50 to 60 hours if you're not rushing it. Because you can just go straight to the point and then it will be shorter. But yeah, that's what our QA team was saying.
One question, the interaction between the writers and the game designers. So when you write a certain sequence, you have some setting in mind, you have some pictures in mind. Do you try to explain it to the level designer, to the game designer, character designer, there's this in this movie and this in this book, you have to watch this? Or the other way around, he finishes it and then it comes out differently than you would have imagined the sequence, so you rewrite it? What is the back and forth in this process?
Mostly there were no rewrites caused by the other teams, but we also asked them during the writing, like, we have an idea for this and this scene. Is this doable and is this in budget? Because that's always the big question. You know, the writers, the imagination can go really wild. They tell us yes, or we have to change this and that. And we don't really start to write until we have the go-ahead, and we provide them with, like, for instance, some kind of picture that might be an inspiration. But I'll be honest with you, whatever pictures we provide, it's just like a starting point, and then what we get in return is entirely different, but not in the way that causes us to have to rewrite things. Like, they will change the way the character looks or the zone looks. They will make it their own in many, many aspects, but for most of the quests that we had, the dialogues, the narrative, it really wasn't that important if we were in a tiny room or a big room, or if there were big trees or small trees, or if somebody had, beautiful hat or not. So every division in the company has their freedom, but they haven't really stepped on our toes much at all. So yeah, it was very nice in that way.
Besides the obvious ones like Witcher or after my playthrough, I guess Vampire the Bloodlines, is there any gameplay inspiration or story inspiration that you would want to point out that you had in the whole writing and process?
I think that for each each team at the company, they had different inspirations, so I cannot speak for them. Me personally, I wasn't really looking towards other games because that would just make it easier to, unfortunately, just copy something, so not something I would like to risk. So I was just, reaching into other media, TV shows, old books that I've read, conversations about what people like, dislike. I even like to listen to some podcasts about when people talked about the media they liked, even if I didn't know them. And I often prefer that because I get it together with an opinion. And then sometimes this opinion breeds the inspiration because they talk about like, oh, that would have been amazing, or that I didn't like. And I'm like, oh, well, that could fit somewhere. And I find that for me, that works much better than trying to take inspiration from any existing media, because that just would make me probably reach for it too much, and I didn't want to risk that.
So this will be the last third, I think, for...
Last round?
Yeah.
Okay. So, years from now, when players think back to the Blood of Dawnwalker, what do you hope stays with them? What sticks with them?
I would hope their choices, and maybe that's a mean thing to say, but the choices that they didn't like, because they tend to stick with us the most. And if a choice they didn't like sticks with someone, that would mean that the narrative actually reached them and they cared. So yeah, I think that the choices would be, because it's easy to forget plots, characters, abilities, everything, but if you got emotionally invested in something you did, I think that's the power of games, and I hope that will stay with them. from this one.
Cool, thanks.
So I'm not sure if you can answer that, but considering that the industry right now is a little unstable and rather risk averse, how hard or easy was it for your team to find a partner to pitch like a big scale new IP?
As a grunt in the company, being just a writer, I didn't take part in any such process, so I don't know. I just know they were very happy that everything worked out the way the way it did. But I'm sorry, I'm just a grunt. So.
In recent years, video games have been also the starting point or the launch pad for books, for other media, for even TV shows, for movies. So do you see potential, or would you be interested even in continuing the whole story as a book, as a TV show, as a movie?
I mean, I'm sure the studio is not closing their eyes or doors to anything, but those decisions would not be, again, in any way in my hands. But we will have a little comic in the game itself. So I guess that counts, right? So there's that. We also have little stories, sometimes written. We'll see.
I mean, it's confirmed that there will be multiple entries, right? That it's a saga.
Yes, but that's confirmed for games. So yeah.
Right.
But what happens around the games, that's going to be for people much higher up than me to decide.
Thank you.
So for the last question, a personal one, how is your Cohen in the world? Is he saving his family? Is he ravaging across the lands? What does he do?
After spending so much time with all of that, I think my Cohen would be kind of world weary. He would be like, fine, I'll save them. But honestly, I would rather go see some dungeon, go on adventure. You know, when you spend so that much, yeah, jokes aside, if I was playing this game, like, you know, from start to finish and getting involved in it, yeah, then I would save the family because I'm a big softie. So I would help everyone, I would save the pig, and then I would save the family, and we would all live happily ever after. Yeah, in medieval times, I'm sure that would happen, yeah. Everyone lived so long and happy.
Probably.
Yeah.